Tosin Abasi, everyone, give it up. What I found fascinating, the last release on the Neural DSP channel with Plini. You wrote that song together with Plini in Captivity, right?
Yeah. So Neural's been doing a series of like 2 neural artists attempting to write a song in a day. They've done Kiko and, Mateus Asato and Plini, I think actually previously. Anyway, a lot of the neural artists have done it, and they hit me up about doing it with him, and I was like, yeah, let's try. And it's kind of funny because like this is truly like we have no idea what we're gonna.
It's not like staged a little bit. Okay.
So creativity's funny to where like sometimes you just don't have any ideas.
Was it tough at the beginning?
Say what?
Was it tough at the beginning?
It actually wasn't. It was really seamless. And one of the first random things I started to settle on, he's like, "Oh, that sounds cool," and then the song just wrote itself. So I don't know if we got lucky, but yeah, sometimes you sit down to write something and it's not the day to write. Yeah. But we show up and they're filming from the moment we're unpacking our guitars, right? Yeah. They're kind of capturing this real thing. And so part of my brain was like, man, I hope we actually can come up with
a little bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? Yeah.
But I actually really like what we came up with, and maybe we'll do more of it,
How can you imagine things that inspire you? Like, you've been thinking out of the box since you play guitar, basically. How would you find stuff that inspire in like a new level that's not like, I did that before?
The internet and algorithms are kind of doing a lot of heavy lifting these days. Before that, I think I would try to, how do I put it? I guess if you have people who are influential around you, maybe players who have been playing longer than you, sometimes this is the older brother effect, or your guitar instructor is like, hey, maybe you've never checked out jazz fusion or something, and you're a metal guy, and he might be the person who's like, hey, check out Alan Holdsworth or something like that. So that begins a rabbit hole, usually. If you like what's been introduced to you, you start to dig deeper in that direction. These days, I feel like I said, there's this artificial intelligence always monitoring the choices you're making online and trying to predict your next choice. But sometimes it works well, and you get suggestions, and you're like, whoa, I've never heard of this. So that's kind of like, I feel like the modern way of discovering new things. But I feel like as musicians, we are always looking to music for inspiration, but I feel like we don't always consider looking towards, I don't know, fashion or architecture or film, which I think there are aesthetic realities that can translate, even though it's not music. Yeah. There's aesthetic choices that might inform the musical choices. So I feel broadening your scope of interest outside of music might actually help inspire you when you go to sit down and you want to make music.
What do you think about the idea of seeing a shape, seeing a color, and hearing a harmony or anything, like connecting, the emotional impact that's something that's not audible on the way you feel, which inspires you to write stuff. Is that a connection you would consider being realistic?
That is cool, and I feel like you're describing synesthesia. I don't think I have synesthesia, but I've always been curious about it because of this ability to hear a color. Yeah. I think that's super cool, and I don't know if this is true, but there's a few artists I like, and I think they have synesthesia. What you're describing sounds like a really cool ability to translate stimulus from one medium into another, But you're reinforcing what I'm saying, where I think not everyone thinks in this way. Yeah, so I think if you're looking for inspiration, you don't always have to find it on the guitar or the drums. And in fact, you probably should look outside of it because there's so much creative work that I think could influence what you're doing in a positive way.
What would be the most surprising style or band that you would listen to that people would not even think of?
I'm a fan of this harp player named Joanna Newsom. Oh, have you heard of her?
I think so.
She sings, it's like the intersection between like folk and like medieval, but also has like features of like Americana, like, and her voice is very distinct.
Okay.
When you hear Joanna Newsom, you will not think that I am a fan of Joanna Newsom, even though she's an amazing songwriter. It has nothing to do with metal or anything that you would associate with me, but I think she's fantastic. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Check her out. Joanna Newsom, right?
Joanna Newsom. Yeah.
Okay. Would there be a moment where you just listen to, I don't know, like something super old school? Or is it not like, I don't know, Zeppelin or whatever? Like something that's like also not very much math rock or progressive?
You know what? For some reason, I'm disproportionately attracted to new musical ideas.
Okay.
So I'm not really listening to really old stuff.
Okay.
Like, if I'm listening to jazz, I mean, this is blasphemous, but like, I'm listening to modern post-bop players as opposed to listening to like, you know, Miles Davis or, you know, Grant Green.
Okay.
Like, for some reason, I'm listening to the guys who listened to those guys.
Okay. All right. I mean, they are in there as well.
It's in there.
It's the essence of what they figured out with that influence. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that there's an occasional experience. I've had this with Pat Metheny and Frank Zappa, where what I'm hearing, even though it was made in the 70s, it sounds like
It's shockingly new.
shockingly modern. So I think there's a sort of timelessness to a lot of music, but it's like I'm less inclined to listen to, you know, Richie Blackmore, and I'd probably listen to Yngwie, you know?
Okay.
But he listened to Richie. So I think it's kind of an aesthetic thing where the production and the musical ideas are, for some reason, it's like watching a movie, a classic movie in black and white. It's like, these are obviously like valuable pieces of media, but it takes a certain person to really put on like Casablanca or something or Gone with the Wind and really be like, man, this is awesome, you know?
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's like, so I have a hole in my musical diet that anything older than, I just don't listen to much old music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your guitar. Because that's also a constant evolution. Started off with having the Ibanez signature, and then moving on. You like last year you made the Kaizen with Ernie Ball.
It's actually
This year was it?
so every year we release like a variant.
Okay.
But we're ending year 3 of the Kaizen. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The latest one was super sick. Like, it's one of those modern shapes that I can totally become like a classic. Like just stick.
That would be cool.
And also your brand, obviously. Abasi, guitars. Can you like wrap up like the current states, like in case someone's not, up to date?
Yeah, so I have a brand called Abasi Concept. We make 6, 7, and 8 string guitars. They're multi-scale. There's a design emphasis on ergonomics. And the aesthetic is an attempt to modernize the electric guitar without going too far off the deep end, And then I did a design collaboration with Music Man, where the goal was to make an instrument that like I felt they didn't have, and it's less of a signature and more of a product as part of their lineup.
Okay.
Informed by like, if I had to choose a Music Man, what would I,
Is it more like an experimental thing where you're like, okay, I can just go wild here and do...
Originally I had all these crazy ideas. I think we eventually realized we wanted to make something that like actually like scaled to a lot of people in a way that like, it didn't compromise, but it had a lot of utility.
Okay.
So like kind of like a workhorse, But the cool thing about that instrument is Music Man has like, their engineering like capabilities are actually really, really impressive. And I don't think everyone from the outside looking in understands what's going on there. They literally have like robots in their factory.
You've been to the factory probably multiple times, I guess. Yeah.
State of the art is an understatement. And their head engineer, Drew, is like really hands-on. So the body, a lot of what went into the Kaizen, a lot of these concepts were his. So there's this infinite radius, right? So normal fingerboards, they actually have an arc to them. The highest point is in the middle. On the Kaizen, it actually is wedge shaped. And the idea is that like your line of sight isn't blocked by the peak of the fingerboard. And the radius extends beyond in a weird way. So this is subtle, but what it feels like is that like the treble strings are closer They're almost like a little closer to your fingers.
Like flatter on that side.
Yeah, even though it's not flat, it's actually wedge shaped, so it gets thicker towards the treble strings.
Yeah.
And then the body itself has no flat surfaces. There's not. It's almost entirely sculpted.
Yeah.
Like it's deceptively simple looking, this guitar, but when you see the actual, if you pay attention, it's almost like organic in its the amount of planes that exist and how subtly they evolve into the other planes. And then, a floating trem that's multi-scale, and even they're doing stuff with their pickups where they're heat treating the metal.
Yeah.
They found that, this is like too scientific for me, but apparently you can influence the coherence of the magnetic field by like heat treating the metal. This changes the electrons or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
What it sounds like is just like that much clearer.
Okay, like precise. And
Yeah, it's like when you clean off your glasses or something like that. So it was really cool working with them because like they can do anything, and it was kind of a like kid in the candy shop thing.
Yeah.
But I think the guitar came out cool, and I like the approach we took where there's a bunch of sort of limited runs of different finishes, and they're all quite dramatically different.
Yeah.
We have one that's literally like metallic, like literally like a chromed guitar,
Yeah.
and then there's one that is like straight up natural wood with no paint. With Abasi, we are close to finishing a multi-scale nylon string guitar, 7 strings.
Okay.
Yeah, I had purchased a Cordoba stage. No, it's a, it's like when you need to play a nylon string on stage, the body can't be so resonant that it feeds back from your monitors and stuff like that. But then you want the acoustic instrument to sound convincingly acoustic, so you have to find this sweet spot. And they achieved that, and then we were kind of we were wondering if we could do a similar thing, So like it's almost like making a nylon string guitar for the electric guitar player who wants to have a nylon string in his collection, but he's not necessarily a dedicated classical guitarist. So we made design choices like the string spacing is in between classical and electric guitar spacing, and it sounds phenomenal direct because, look, the modern reality of playing is if you have the luxury of doing a multiple mic setup with a bunch of high quality mic pre's and you understand the engineering, cool, but there's so many options that are direct that sound convincing. And so this guitar plugged in straight into your interface or your computer sounds like a well-mic'd acoustic instrument. And we wanted to avoid the piezo. Sometimes piezo pickups can feel a bit thin or
has a certain frequency that's just a little like pokey.
It's always there. Yeah, so we worked with Fishman to design a system that I think sounds convincingly acoustic as opposed to the unfortunate ways in which piezos can sound a little papery or something. And then we have a compressor pedal that I don't know how many guitar players think about compression, but it is a super useful tool,
It's the most underrated.
It really is.
Effect or pedal, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think if you've ever recorded, whether you know it or not, the engineer has probably thrown some compression on, whether it's your clean guitars or whatever, right? And so there's a lot of different styles of compression, but I feel like guitar players, at least my preference is for something that feels like it is making it easier to execute intricate things. And I do a lot of percussive techniques, and there's a way to use compression to make the transients actually pop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Normally we think of compression as like it is like a brick wall where the notes that are too loud or compressed.
Back, yeah.
Yeah, but there's also there's another element to it that can feel like almost like an expansive.
Yeah.
Right? So we leaned into that, and then we wanted a compressor with a lot of character. So like if you play a tube amp or a valve amplifier, there's natural compression in the output stage. Right? And when you turn up this amp, the amp's response becomes more pronounced.
Yeah.
It starts to breathe in a way that is like
It's
physical.
more lively. It
Yes.
reacts faster. Yeah.
Literally. So our compressor has an output transformer in it to emulate the way a tube amp has that same sort of character once you start to give it enough volume.
Wow.
And so it feels like the notes are jumping.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's over there at our booth. We have a little setup, you can plug it in. It's kind of a thing you have to play to experience.
I guess it's one of those things. It's like you play it, you're like, cool. Then you turn it off, and you're like, oh no, let's turn it back on.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, and I've heard this term from someone. Would you agree? Like, a good compressor is the opposite of a reverb. You know what I mean?
I have to think of this for a second.
It's like a reverb puts you kind of further away in a mix.
Oh.
Compressor makes you stand out.
Okay, yeah, I get
And
it.
even if it's not squashy, it's not like an old school guitar compressor, but like more like an LA2A or whatever, something that's much more mild.
Yeah.
It just makes you sit in front a bit more.
Yeah. It becomes more like forward and like more vivid. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Probably because of the quieter things are not that quiet, so the whole thing just, you can articulate clear away.
Yeah. And it's not that we don't like dynamics, but if you're in a heavy band and the mix is very full, you don't want to lose the information that is lower in dynamic. And I do a lot of techniques that they need to push past like the rest of the things in the mix, but it's actually intricate what I'm doing. So the compressor helps to like package that stuff and present it like in a forward way. But like I said, there's the physical experience of like, it feels easier to play the stuff too. Like that is huge, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's I don't know why compression has such a bad reputation. Between bassists even more. Like I've
don't like
so
it?
many bassists who say like, I can do it myself. Like I don't need that. And of course, you know, a lot of them can, but still, the first thing the mixer will do is put on that LA2 1176.
Control.
It's not just because you can do it. It's just because there is a certain range, which is still a huge dynamic range, that is going to work in a band. Mm-hmm. And then there are the extremes that will just get lost.
They get in the way.
So it's,
I also think compression isn't the sexiest type of effect.
Yeah.
As guitar players, we're like looking for fuzz pedals and delays and
delay.
yeah. But I think there's a category of effect that I would call like utility. Like you need a good noise gate that like doesn't like kill your sustain and it has the right type, right? And once you start, you these foundational utility effects, you gotta pay attention to it. Like, you know, even tuners, you know, it's like if you're on stage and your tuner's super erratic and it like it's a source of anxiety, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, these aren't really the like sexiest like effects, but they're like super important.
Or like a simple EQ.
Yeah.
But anywhere at the beginning, in front of all the drives, or in the loop, or after the power amp, if you have some sort of a, you know, if it's a modular, it's even easier. Just put it anywhere in the signal chain. It's so mighty.
You're totally correct. And I think like, I don't know if it's a matter of educating the public, but if you've had the benefit of recording with an engineer or you pay attention to the mix engineer, you'll see these things happening. And I guarantee you the recordings you've heard where you think sound amazing, these tools are being used, you know? But then when it comes to your amp, you're like, well, I have a EQ. It's on the face of the amp, right?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about how much low end is hitting the preamp, right?
Yeah.
Before you actually EQ it. So yeah, I think there's kind of like this a gap in some guitar players' knowledge that, you know, I think I understand it, but I think we want to offer solutions, you know? Yeah. And so this compressor, I feel like, is made for guitar players, and it kind of solves like an issue.
How do you like to record? Like, let's say you have a period where you write songs, write riffs, just feel creative or have the time to do that. How could we imagine that? Like you sit down with your laptop and plug in real quick, or do you have like a recording setup that is just, you know, ready to go immediately, or?
Yeah, my home setup is geared towards practicing. Okay. But I do, if I want to record, like, yeah, I can just very quickly, you know, I have it set up to where I can begin a session. And I most often use like Logic to write music, but I will first be jamming with myself, right?
Nice.
My musical ideas come from the guitar, and they're often a spontaneous, like, oh, wow, that sounds cool. I try to capture that spontaneous moment of creativity. And then once I have like a kernel of idea, I'll track it in. And then from there, you can start to sequence and compose inside of the box. This is what we do as a band as well. Every so often, I write something what feels like a solo piece where from beginning to end, it was written on the guitar and can be executed on the guitar with no other, but that's a relatively small percentage of my compositions.
So you would sit down with the guys and just figure out the rest and fill out the gaps and
Yeah, I mean, one of the joys of being with the band is that collaboration. And so maybe I have one or two musical ideas, but then I got nothing. And then maybe Javier steps in and he's got an idea.
Yeah.
He begins where I end. And then our drummer is like,
yeah, I know.
He's insane. And so he has actually brought forth drum compositions that we actually write harmony to.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you've tried this.
That's scary. That's what it is.
And this is not like a groove, bro. It's you need a notepad to all of the, but it's fun.
When you have like a super complex, multi-rhythmic song, which is not uncommon for you, you don't count, I guess, right?
I do until it's a bridge into internalizing the phrase. Okay. Yeah.
Does like melody help you to feel it, like get used to like a 17th, 8th or something, like a very random rhythm? Do melodies fill out those gaps and make it feel more natural?
This is a good question. Like they can, because then, melodies feel like singable.
Yeah.
Right? And then
an earworm if you...
Yeah. And so I'm glad you bring this up because I make complex music, but I don't want to ever get so far away that something isn't internalizable,
Yeah.
Like we don't have compositions that like are completely linear where nothing repeats. Yeah. We actually use a lot of repetition. And when we're using odd meter, our goal is to do it in an artful way to where it's stimulating for other musicians, basically.
Yeah.
But it's not so odd that it has no sense of groove.
Yeah.
So the way I use counting is if I have to learn someone else's phrase.
Okay.
Javier or Matt might write something, and then it's a way of learning what they've written. Yeah. But ideally, by the time you're recording or performing it, it's memorized. Yeah. I think I kind of noticed this when I was learning classical guitar briefly. You can use the sheet music to read the piece, but I think it sounds better if you get to the point where you're not reading.
Yeah.
And you've internalized it, because I think reading, you're dedicating some processing to the reading part, and I don't know that you can play as confidently if you haven't memorized it.
Yeah.
And I think internalizing even complex music is the goal, because then when you execute it, you're not counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and you're not doing this sort of thing, right? I just don't know that can be like the final state of you, right?
Imagine standing on stage and your lips are moving.
Bro, I feel like Javier still does this, actually.
It's you do you, whatever, Oh man, thank you so much. I think our time's up. Thank you so much for taking.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone.